試験監督者は音量及び室内の聞こえ具合を確認してください。2025年度第2回実用英語技能検定1級リスニングテスト。ただいまから1級リスニングテストを行います。これからお話しすることについて質問は受けませんので、よく注意して聞いてください。なお、リスニングテスト放送中に音飛びや騒音があった場合は、発生した問題のトラックの始めに戻し、やり直します。しかしながら、万が一、教室監督者が気づかない場合は、速やかに手を挙げてお知らせ願います。このテストでは、テストの方法と注意事項がすべて英語で放送されます。
The listening test for the Grade 1 examination is about to begin. Listen carefully to the directions. You will not be permitted to ask questions during the test. This test has 4 parts. All of the questions in these 4 parts are multiple choice questions. For each question, choose the best answer from among the 4 choices written in your test booklet. On your answer sheet, find the number of the question and mark your answer. You are permitted to take notes for every part of this listening test. Now, here are the directions for Part 1. In this part, you will hear 10 dialogues, number 1 through number 10. Each dialogue will be followed by 1 question. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The dialogue and the question will be given only once.
Now we will begin the Grade 1 listening test. Number 1.
Blue Skies Care Services, Joseph speaking.
Hello, I'm calling about care options for my father.
Sure. We have a range of services, from placement in our retirement community to in-home personal care services. What are his needs?
He's mobile, but he has difficulty with certain household chores. He could also use some company.
We can arrange for someone to visit on a regular basis.
Great. I'll be moving closer to him this summer, so it'll only be a temporary arrangement.
Question. What is one thing we learn about the woman's father? Number 2.
What's the matter, Tommy?
My manager blew up at me this afternoon. All I did was ask her for an extension on my deadline. She could have just said no.
She's been like that all day. I heard she got turned down for the senior manager position again.
Okay, but I don't know why she's taking it out on me. A manager should be more professional.
It's probably best just to stay out of her way for a while.
Question. Why is the man's manager in a bad mood?
Number 3.
John, could you help me? My laptop keeps crashing while I'm editing this video.
That sort of task requires a lot of memory, so you're probably pushing the machine too hard. Try updating the video driver and rebooting the computer.
I did that already.
In that case, you could ask to use one of the workstations in the media production department.
The staff there tend to be reluctant to let other people use the workstations. I guess they might know how to solve my problem, though.
Question. What does the woman imply about the media production department?
Number 4.
So, to start the interview, I'd like you to tell me a little about your management style.
Sure. I like to give my staff structure, but allow them enough autonomy to come up with creative solutions.
Can you elaborate on that?
For instance, in my current position, we have tight deadlines. I set milestones and delegate responsibilities, but I trust each member to fulfill their tasks in the way that works best for them.
Question. What does the woman say about her staff? Number 5.
I've got an exterminator coming out on Saturday to look at the backyard.
To deal with the mole problem?
Yes, it's gotten out of hand. Tunnels everywhere. No matter where you walk, the ground sinks underfoot.
It looks terrible too. It has certainly ruined the landscaping. But are you sure you want to call in an exterminator? It seems so cruel.
Maybe there's a humane approach to mole removal. We can see what they say and then go from there. It's just a consultation.
Question. Why does the woman question the man's decision?
Number 6.
You've been to Zazota National Park, haven't you? Which trail would you recommend?
Well, they're all scenic, so it depends on your priorities. The scenery varies a lot throughout the park. The Mackenzie Trail is one of the nicest ones, though.
Oh, that one is labeled as level 5 in the guidebook. It might be too strenuous for me.
That classification doesn't necessarily indicate the overall fitness level you need. It just means there's a technical challenge, like a steep area or a boulder crossing. Don't worry, I think you've got plenty of experience.
Question. What do we learn about the woman?
Number 7.
Do you have a moment?
Sure. What is it?
I think the janitorial service has started using new cleaning products in the office. I've been experiencing itchy eyes and a runny nose, but only when I'm here.
When did this start?
About a month ago. At first, I thought it was seasonal allergies, but I'm fine outdoors and at home. I must be allergic to a chemical in one of the cleaning products.
I can ask if they've switched products. In the meantime, maybe we could put your desk near a window.
Question. What is one thing the man says about his condition?
Number 8.
Bob, do you have an accountant you could recommend? My tax return this year is going to be complicated now that I own a rental property.
I do my own taxes. I bought some software and it did the job.
I'm pretty old-fashioned. You know, shoeboxes full of receipts, that sort of thing. I really think I'd be better off getting someone with a lot of expertise to walk me through everything.
I understand. Let me ask around. I think my brother uses someone local.
Question. What does the woman imply about the tax software?
Number 9.
Giselle, have you reviewed the latest draft of our presentation for our economics seminar?
Yeah, I went over it last night. Remember I'd been concerned that some of the slides were too repetitive? They seem much better now.
That's a relief. Professor Hawkins is very particular about that.
One thing I noticed, though, is that we haven't analyzed any of the implications of the data that we're presenting.
I'm wondering if that wouldn't be outside the scope of the assignment. And we have a considerable amount of ground to cover already.
I'm sure Professor Hawkins mentioned that it was important. I thought we could eliminate some of the background information from slides 6 and 7.
I guess maybe not all of it is essential. However, we do need to provide some context for why we conducted our survey in the first place.
What if we just cut slide 7? We could replace it with a final slide with some potential next steps or questions for further research. That way, we're showing we've thought about the implications without going into too much depth.
That's a great idea. It shows we're thinking critically and leaves room for discussion.
Question. What is the woman's idea for improving the presentation?
Number 10.
Did you hear about the scandal involving the mayor? It's been all over the news.
He's been accused of misusing funds intended for the city's housing project, right? I'm shocked that someone in such a trusted position could act so irresponsibly.
I had a similar reaction, but I'm reluctant to pass judgment until the facts have been verified.
Do you think it might just be media scandal-mongering?
I wouldn't be surprised. And even if there's some truth in it, the media loves to blow things out of proportion.
Well, the leaked documents seemed pretty convincing. If they're genuine, I don't think he'll have any choice but to stand down. People trusted him to improve the city, not line his pockets.
I get that. But don't you think it's strange how this came to light right before the election? The timing feels suspicious.
I have to admit that the media has shown bias against him in the past.
Right. And he's also done a lot of good for the city. The housing project helped hundreds of families.
That's true, but there needs to be a full investigation of the claims being made.
Absolutely. And the mayor should be held accountable if it proves that he's guilty.
I'm with you on that. Let's just hope it's impartial.
Question. What do these three people agree on?
Here are the directions for Part 2. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, A through E. Each passage will be followed by 2 questions, number 11 through number 20. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage and the questions will be given only once. Now, let's begin.
A. Morris Wilson. Morris Wilson was a former soldier who had no technical mountaineering experience and only basic flying skills. Nevertheless, in the 1930s, he had an incredible aim to fly a plane from England to the Himalayas and then climb Mount Everest alone. After World War I, Wilson left the Army and traveled around the globe. Gradually, the challenge of climbing Everest became a focus of his attention. At a time when only the best pilots would even consider making such a hazardous air journey, Wilson made plans, purchased a plane, and set off on his daring mission. He took a circuitous route, facing many hurdles along the journey, but somehow finally arrived in India. Once in India, authorities confiscated his plane to stop him from flying over the Himalayas, so he made his way toward them on foot, accompanied by some local guides. His initial assault on Everest resulted in him turning back. Not one to be deterred, he set off again, this time never to return. His frozen body, along with his diary, was later found by a British mountaineering expedition. Although most mountaineering experts agree it is highly unlikely Wilson summited Everest, his audacious attempt to achieve something extraordinary will long be remembered.
Questions. Number 11. What does the speaker say about Morris Wilson? Number 12. What do we learn about Wilson after he arrived in India?
B. Monarchs and corn. In the late 1990s, a paper published in the journal Nature caused controversy worldwide. The paper, which was published by researchers from a well-known university, claimed that pollen from genetically modified corn plants was a threat to monarch butterflies. The larvae of the butterflies feed on milkweed, a wild plant that is often found growing alongside crops. In the paper, the researchers reported the results of an experiment in which monarch butterfly larvae died after eating milkweed plants that had been deliberately contaminated with corn pollen. Environmental groups seized on the paper's claims as a way to highlight the dangers of genetically modified crops. The corn plants had been genetically engineered to produce corn that was resistant to insect pests by inserting a gene from a bacterium that produces a toxin. The paper created widespread concern because at that time, around 1/5 of the corn grown in the U.S. consisted of this genetically modified variety. However, the researchers' experiment was later criticized because the amount of pollen the butterfly larvae were exposed to was much higher than would occur in fields. Further research suggested that the pollen posed little threat to monarch butterflies.
Questions. Number 13. What is one thing we learn about the paper? Number 14. Why was the study later criticized?
C. Child's play. In the late 20th century, unstructured, unsupervised play, once a staple in U.S. children's daily routines, began to be replaced by activities involving direct oversight by parents. This was partly due to concern fueled by increased media attention on kidnapping cases, even though the incidents being profiled did not indicate an overall rise in such crimes. Additionally, growing income inequality led parents to feel children must excel academically to ensure future financial stability. Homework and activities curated by adults came to be considered more important than free play. A recent study led by psychology researcher Peter Gray notes that mental health issues in children, such as anxiety and depression, have significantly increased throughout the decades in which opportunities for free play have diminished. When children lack sufficient opportunities for unstructured playtime, there is a decline in their internal locus of control, the feeling of control over the events that occur in one's life. Gray believes children's weakened internal locus of control is a key factor behind the increasing mental health problems. He stresses the importance of healthcare professionals advising parents about the benefits of independent activity for their children's psychological well-being.
Questions. Number 15. According to the speaker, what is one thing that led to the shift in children's play habits? Number 16. What does Peter Gray believe about children's mental health?
D. Mammal life expectancy. In comparison with reptiles, mammals tend to have relatively short life expectancies. Scientists say this could be a legacy of the time millions of years ago when the Earth was dominated by dinosaurs. Since most of the niches for large creatures in this early ecosystem were occupied by dinosaurs, most mammals were no larger than modern cats. Then, because mammals occupied the bottom of the food chain, one theory is that the best survival strategy was rapidly maturing to reproductive age rather than living long enough to grow to an enormous size. Genes for longer lifespans would, therefore, have been less likely to be passed on. This could also be the reason many mammals lack reptiles' remarkable ability for cell repair and regeneration. Some researchers theorize, for example, that many early mammals were forced to become nocturnal because the darkness of night allowed them to evade predators, such as dinosaurs. This could have caused them to discard genes that help the skin undo damage from ultraviolet rays. Mammals' strategy of favoring reproductive capacity may have also meant it was unnecessary to develop features that would have been useful over a longer lifespan, such as reptiles' ability to constantly regenerate teeth.
Questions. Number 17. What do some scientists believe was true of many mammals in the age of the dinosaurs? Number 18. What types of genes do researchers believe many mammals have lost?
E. British World War II internment camps. As World War II progressed, Britain felt increasingly vulnerable in its fight against Germany, and fears were voiced an invasion might be imminent. With such anxiety came a growing suspicion that Germans and nationals of other enemy countries living in Britain could pose a security risk by collaborating with Germany. As a result, thousands of people were sent to internment camps against their will and held with little indication of when they would be released. Ironically, many of these people were refugees who had fled Germany because they had actively resisted or faced persecution from the Nazi regime. One camp was located on the Isle of Man, and the conditions there were considered to be superior relative to those at other camps. The camp administrator provided internees with literature, musical instruments, sheet music, and art materials. This allowed the internees, many of whom were professionals and academics, to partake in numerous cultural and intellectual pursuits, such as playing orchestral chamber music and holding lectures on philosophy. These activities provided the internees some solace, helping them to deal with the psychological burden of being cut off from the outside world and their families and being surrounded by guards and barbed wire.
Questions. Number 19. What is one thing the speaker says about people held at camps around the country? Number 20. What does the speaker say about the camp on the Isle of Man?
Here are the directions for Part 3. In this part, you will hear 5 passages, F through J. The passages represent real-life situations and may contain sound effects. Each passage will have one question, number 21 through number 25. Before each passage, you will have 10 seconds to read the situation and question written in your test booklet. After you hear the passage, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The passage will be given only once. Now, let's begin.
F. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 21.
Okay, here's what we have in stock in terms of exterior paints at the moment. This one is KD Color Max. It's a premium product that will resist fading and peeling for decades. It's $35 per liter. Over here is Bradley Luminous. Bradley is known for its vibrant colors, and at $18 per liter, it's our most budget-friendly product. Oh, you should keep in mind that it's somewhat susceptible to peeling. Aurora's Formula 9 is much more durable. Just between you and me, it's comparable to KD Color Max in terms of quality, and it's just $28 per liter with a lifetime warranty. Finally, there's Jensen's Swift Coat, which is known for its ease of application. It's slightly superior to Bradley Luminous in terms of durability, but isn't up to the standards of KD Color Max and Aurora's Formula 9. It's $22 per liter.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
G. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 22.
This is an important announcement from the station office. Due to a signalling system malfunction on the southbound E train track, E-train service between Carringford and Revolution Plaza has been suspended for the rest of the day. Passengers waiting for the southbound E-train, please proceed to the bus platform on level 3 and catch bus number 42 or bus number 43, bound for Revolution Plaza. Passengers making a connection at Revolution Plaza, please check with a staff member here at the station office on level 2 before boarding. There are ongoing disruptions to transportation service from Revolution Plaza that could affect your plans. Alternatively, taxis are available at the taxi stand on level 1, but expect wait times to be very long. Passengers waiting for the G and K trains and the northbound E train to Redville, please remain on the platform. Service will continue as normal.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
H. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 23.
Good morning, everyone. Due to the downward productivity trends we've seen recently, we will implement some important changes beginning next week. All employees who work remotely 2 or more days a week must attend virtual check-in meetings with their manager on remote days to facilitate communication. These will be conducted starting next month using special video chat software. So please arrange to have the IT department set this up on your computer if it applies to you. Human resources staff already have this software installed for conducting hiring interviews. Employees who work remotely 4 or 5 days a week will also need to attend a workshop focusing on time management, remote team building, and communication skills. Please register ASAP on the company intranet portal. Additionally, staff on content production teams must complete a self-evaluation and have it reviewed by a manager to be permitted to continue working remotely in any capacity. Thank you for your cooperation.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
I. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 24.
There are quite a few caterers in town, but only a few of them do the kind of fine dining you're after. Normally, I would recommend Domingo's Delicacies, but you would need to book them several months in advance. They serve the most sophisticated dishes in town and have experience with enormous banquets. I guess in terms of elegance, the runner-up in this area is Food Sensations. They have innovative dishes that are getting a lot of attention these days. The scale of your event is likely to be beyond them, though. With their industrial ovens and enormous staffs, Northland Catering and Gourmet Plus are both capable of handling even the most massive events. In terms of elegance and exquisite flavors, I'd give the edge to Northland. On the other hand, Gourmet Plus would probably be better if your budget is a major concern.
Now, mark your answer on your answer sheet.
J. You have 10 seconds to read the situation and question number 25.
I understand your concerns about future repair expenses you may incur if you hang on to the house. If you were to sell, that would no longer be an issue. I should point out, however, that the housing market is extremely deflated, which means there's a very high probability you won't get the kind of money you said you wanted. Any buyer would likely want to renovate the house entirely and bargain hard. Now, I see you changed insurance companies 5 years ago, and they completed a survey that said the house was still structurally sound. So, it might be an idea to take this opportunity to contact a reputable contractor regarding some simple interior decorating. You would not have to spend much, as renters often accept houses with fairly basic amenities. You can then wait until the market switches to a seller's market and, in the meantime, earn some income.
Now mark your answer on your answer sheet.
Finally, here are the directions for Part 4. In this part, you will hear an interview. The interview will be followed by 2 questions, number 26 and number 27. For each question, you will have 10 seconds to choose the best answer and mark your answer on your answer sheet. The interview and the questions will be given only once.
This is an interview with Dominique Thoreau, an environmental engineer.
Welcome, Dominique. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here.
So, first, could you tell us what you do?
Sure. I work as an environmental engineer for a large engineering company. We generally do contractual work for water companies and local and national governments. I specialize in river management and restoration.
I see. What does river restoration involve?
Well, one of our main jobs is to manage the flow of water in rivers. The water in a river picks up sediment as it flows downstream and washes away soil or sand from the riverbank and the riverbed. This is a natural process, but too much sediment can cause problems further downstream, so it's vital that we find any weak spots before they become serious enough to be an issue. Blockages resulting from sediment buildup can cause rivers to overflow and cause flooding. Additionally, in large rivers that are used by freight ships, the water can get too shallow for large ships to pass if too much sediment builds up at the river's mouth. We monitor rivers to determine areas that are potential problems and then devise a plan for doing restoration work. This generally involves construction work to shore up riverbanks or change the flow of the river to prevent too much erosion from happening. We do a complete analysis of the river and then present a proposal to the client. And once a project has been commissioned, we're responsible for everything from design to final construction.
That sounds like important work. What are the biggest challenges you face at work?
I'd say there were two. The first one is the weather. Once a project is underway, we are mainly working on site, which means in and around rivers. This is a constant battle with the weather, which dictates when we can and can't work. When the weather's good, we have to take advantage of it and get as much done as possible. But when the weather's bad, there's often not much we can do. This means we may be working on site for over 70 hours one week, but be stuck in the office for most of the next. Another major challenge, for me anyway, is that because we work with organizations such as governments, we often encounter a lot of red tape. Each project costs a lot of money, so it can be difficult to justify to the decision makers why so much money needs to be spent. That can be frustrating.
That does sound tough. Finally, do you have any advice for young people who are considering a career like yours?
Well, the first thing, of course, is that you should be interested in engineering. I studied civil engineering at university and then specialized in environmental engineering in graduate school. But being suited to the work is equally important. As I said, we spend a lot of time on site, so you have to be someone who likes being outdoors. What I would also say is that the work is very satisfying. It's great to be involved in projects from start to finish, and it's very rewarding to see a plan you came up with making a real difference.
I'm sure that will inspire our listeners. Thank you for coming to talk to us today, Dominique.
You're welcome.
Questions. Number 26. What does Dominique say is an important part of her job? Number 27. What does Dominique say is a challenge in her job?
Your time is up. Stop writing and wait quietly until the answer sheets have been collected.
では、時間です。筆記用具を置いて答えの記入をやめてください。これにて試験終了となります。公正なる試験実施にご協力いただきありがとうございました。質問がある方は直ちに試験監督者にお申し出ください。試験監督者に連絡いたします。これより最終の受験者数を確認してください。その後、回答用紙を回収し、枚数の確認を行ってください。なお、問題冊子は回収しません。受験者数と回答用紙の枚数の一致を確認してから解散の指示を出してください。受験者の皆さんは身の回りをよく点検し、忘れ物がないように注意してください。受験者の皆さんが退出するときは別の教室が試験中の場合もありますので、声を出さず会場出口まで静かに退出してください。それでは解散の指示を出すまで静かにお待ちください。